What happened here, November 22nd, 1963, was not a lone gunman in a window. It was a military coup d'etat and the rise of the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned about in his final speech. It was a military coup d'etat that removed the cryptonomic books from all the sack bomber pilots that day, that shut off the telephones at Pentagon through all the other federal agencies, and that reversed the course of the Kennedys to have détente with the Soviet Union, to end the Cold War, to stop the arms race, to quit nuclear testing, to pull out of Vietnam, to push racial integration in this country, to get rid of the oil tax depletion allowance for the oil rich of the Southern Rim, to scatter the CIA to the four winds. These are the reasons that Kennedy was killed, not by a lone nut, but by a well-organized conspiracy and cover-up that went to the top of the power systems of this country. Penn Jones was an independent and investigative researcher who knew these facts. He tracked the witness deaths in the cases, and he asked me to come out here every year because I came out with him from the 1970s forward. We always get a legal permit to have this space to hold a moment of silence, and from the Parks Department. And you know, we are glad to be here and to have people come out. This is a larger crowd than came for many, many years. But since Oliver Stone's film, more of you have come out. And we are about getting to the truth of these assassinations and looking at the serious evidence that's come out in these cases. Not about speculations, not about theories, not about conspiracy theory, which is a new term for any criticism we do of the official lies. You can call us conspiracy theorists if you call everyone else a coincidence theorist. But we're talking about historical realities and medical evidence and ballistics and hard facts. So I want to take a moment to have a moment of silence, but a moment of contemplation, a moment of realization of the import. The Dallas Morning News came 10 years after we did this. They finally came out and they said, "What are you doing out here all these many years later?" And I said, the same reason we're here is your editor can ask you to come down here and ask us. Because we know, and this system knows, that these murders matter, and they have lied about them since then. So take a moment of silence and think about that. John F. Kennedy was someone who stood up to this system and where it was going in those critical years. He refused to go to nuclear war against the advice of all of his generals during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He refused to kill Castro. He refused to get into an extended military carpet bombing of the Soviet Union, which Curtis LeMay wanted to do. And he refused to continue to pour American troops and money into a fruitless war in Vietnam. He understood that other nations needed sovereignty and they needed to determine their own futures, and he wanted to help them do that, not fight them. He refused to participate in plots to kill foreign leaders that were going on from the administration that preceded him. And he refused to cooperate with the national security state. Next to my house in Anacostia in D.C., a few miles down the road in Suitland, Maryland, is the National Archive and Record Center for the military history records of the United States from World War II till now. These records are for the most part classified. They have a reading room you can go to and see the few that aren't, but most of them are classified. They are stored in underground buildings at that site in Suitland, Maryland. Each of those buildings is an acre in size. There are 27 of those buildings in Suitland, Maryland. 27 acres of papers and classified documents of your military history since the end of World War II. Do you think you own America? You don't own your own history. You are a conquered people. You let this national security state scare you into finding your history, you are a conquered people. Because that's what conquerors do. They take the history away from us. Now history is passé. We're post-literate. We're post-historical. We're becoming post-scientific and even post-logical in this country. We're like Winston in 1984 having the conversation with Sims at the Ministry of Truth. Sims' job is to reduce the number of words in the dictionary so that there won't be concepts, there won't be a word for it, there won't be a concept for thought crime. He says, you know, in a few years, Winston, you and I won't even be able to have this conversation. Well, I can barely have this conversation cross-generation at this point because of the history that's been lost. I just talked to the correspondent in D.C. for The Nation, 20-year-old kid, Eric Nang, and I said I'm having a conference on political assassinations in Dallas on November 22nd. He gave me a blank stare. I said, you don't know why we go on that date? I said, do you know the date April 6th? You know the date April 4th, or the date June 6th, or the date February 21st? He doesn't know any of those dates. Those are the dates on which the other political leaders were killed.